this video, you're gonna learn about a budget-friendly electric guitar rig that's well suited for worship leaders. There's such a large variety of guitars, pedals, and amps in the marketplace that it can be really overwhelming knowing which ones are gonna be a fit for your rig. So keep watching this video to the end because my friend Alex is gonna help you feel a lot more informed and save you a few bucks as you build your electric guitar setup for worship. This video is brought to you by Lead Worship with Ableton, a free training to help you get started with the #1 worship leading software. With Ableton Live, you can run a click, backing tracks, and automate lyrics and lighting. It's the best tool for increasing excellence and eliminating distracting mistakes in worship. Click the link in the description to enroll in the free training today. My name is Jake Goslin with Churchfront.com, an online resource for innovative and creative church leaders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can continue to receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church. And make sure you check out the show notes below this video for some links to free resources and tools for your worship ministry, including a document containing links to all the gear that we have listed here in this video for this electric guitar rig. As a worship leader, I'm a guitar player, but on most Sundays, I actually just lead from acoustic guitar. So while I do have an electric guitar and I have electric guitar amp and a couple pedals, it's just really not my forte. So I was really excited when I met my friend Alex here. He leads worship at Mile High Calvary Church here in Littleton/Highlands Ranch, Colorado. I'm not sure what city we're in, but
it's literally like you can throw a rock this way or that way and you can be in either city.
Yeah, so he's like a couple miles away from me, and when I met him for the first time, I was actually making another video with a member of his team, his music director Elijah, who was showing me their Ableton and main stage setup, and then Alex showed me his guitar setup because you mostly lead from electric guitar, right?
Yeah.
So I was just really impressed too when he started noodling around on this rig, just to hear the overall quality of the tone that he's producing. And the cool part is that you didn't drop like thousands upon thousands of dollars on all the gear that we're about to show you. So the point of this video is to show you a really solid electric guitar setup for a worship ministry context that doesn't break the bank. Of course, there may be some cheaper options out there, but there's definitely a lot more expensive options out there. This is probably somewhere in the lower mid-range. That's how I would probably describe it.
Low medium.
So before we dive into the different pieces of your rig, Alex, I would love for you to explain kind of your reasoning. Why go with this analog setup? Because that's something I want to note, right up front here, that this isn't a amp modeling processor thing like a Helix, and I'll probably make a video about that in the future, hopefully, but why go with an analog setup?
It's almost like being a creature of habit for like probably about 50% of the reason why I choose it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something that I grew up with. A lot of the digital modeling stuff, like even like 4 to 5 years ago, was like terrible. It wasn't very good. The Helix is obviously something that people are switching over to, that they're throwing away their rigs and being like, hey, this can work for me. I didn't do that because I didn't want to dive through multiple menus and do more programming stuff. I really like the analog sound that I can get by just stomping on pedals and just dialing it in. And for the money, I mean, I technically have spent less money on my rig than I could have spent on a Helix. That's like minus the guitar, obviously, but less than a Helix between these two, and I can kind of play with it anywhere. Like anywhere, so I don't always have to be in a sound system or have headphones detached. So I mean, I kind of like that. I like loud amps. That's just in my blood, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that's helpful too, just for folks who are considering, do I want to build analog rig? Do I want to go with digital with Helix? Maybe you want to have both, and this could be a great example of an analog rig to build. So I want to let you kind of take it away and just walk through maybe first your guitar, and then your amp, and then your pedal board.
Yeah.
And then as you explain the different features of your setup, maybe explain to us too how that translates into a worship ministry environment. Like I have this piece of gear or this pedal or this setting or this pickup because I want to achieve this type of sound to be able to
have the appropriate tone for like modern worship songs.
No, for sure.
So I'll let you take it away.
So the guitar, this one right here is a Warmoth custom build that I did. I wanted a really, really tricked out guitar, but I don't have $5K or even $2,500 to drop on like a nice Gretsch or a Veritas or like a custom line Fender. This whole thing, everything put together, set up, probably about $1,100, $1,200. I mean, you don't have to go that far to get a good sound. The reason I did it is because this is like my only electric guitar, so I'm like, might as well spend a little extra and get everything that I want out of it. One of the main things that, for like a worship guitar, is the pickups. I mean, the way that it looks, the way that the neck feels and stuff, that's all user preference. You can decide what feels comfortable for you. If you like a thick neck, fat neck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all on you. Typically, Fenders, Gretches, I mean, you can get some Gibsons with some humbuckers. It's all about how you set your rig up, honestly. But one of the main things that I went for is a really, really clear tone, like clean, crystalline, bell-like chime out of my pickups. And what I did is I did an underwind for both of these, so they're not extra hot. They're not like hot pickups overwound. So like the winding on them is less than what you'd see in a standard. So I got them underwound, so they're super, super clean. There's a lot of like high treble, and some people are kind of like, oh, jazz masters have a lot of that, but I mean, if you dial in your rig to accommodate for that, it's kind of like the more clean your pickups are, the more you have as a building block. I mean, you're going to get your dirt from your amp and your pedals. You don't want your dirt from your guitar. The cleaner that you have coming from your guitar into your board, into your amp, the better. I mean, because you can basically build off of that. I pretty much built this from the ground up. Got custom shop Lindy Freyland's, went with the Mastery. Anybody who's looking to make or build a Jazz Master, or even has one already and has problems, I absolutely recommend this, not just for people having tuning issues or the strings jumping off, but the sustain and the overall dynamic that you get out of it is just, I've tried like the Stay Trem, I've tried like Graphtec saddles, the original Mustang saddles. Nothing compares to this guy right here. It is about $180, but it's totally worth it. I totally recommend it. So yeah, that's pretty much the Jazz Master. It's got the compound radius with the stainless steel quarter sawn. You know, it's got all the pro upgrades that I could think of without breaking the bank, and I just ordered it all from Warmoth and shot it myself. So
yeah. So what did this what did this guitar cost originally before you added all this stuff?
Basically, I pieced it out. So I bought the body from Warmoth about $275.
Okay.
I finished it myself with a clear coat nitro. Bought the neck from them. It was just under $300, but I went with quarter sawn and the stainless steel frets because I'm kind of a heavy-handed player. I come from like a metal background, so I really dig in the strings. So stainless steel frets is only $20 more from when you're ordering. So
this is all like, you go to the website, what's it called?
Warmoth.com.
And you can just order like different parts of a guitar and you assemble it.
Yeah, essentially this is like almost like a Veritas neck. It's got the same compound radius, width, and frets on it. So I mean, it's very, very similar to like a Mini Master, I think is what they call it. But I don't have that kind of money, and I think they're great instruments. But I'm like, I can try and do something for a budget, and this is what I got, and I'm very pleased with it. So
awesome.
You know.
What is it? Let's hear it coming through the amp, just kind of with a clean, maybe with just a clean tone.
Yeah, I'll just throw on a little bit of, not even verb. I'll just do it straight up. So that's. Nice. Get like out of phase. Pick up like. So, and it's also got the rhythm circuit right here, which engages these controls, and it's very, very smooth and mellow, so you can use it for like layering on like tons of effects and stuff like that. So throw. it's really smooth and mellow, so it doesn't get too jangly with everything layered over it. So
yeah, it's a beautiful, clean tone. So if I were to kind of simplify what you explained and the reasoning behind this guitar is like just trying to find a guitar that can produce, or you actually made a guitar that can just produce a really solid, clean tone to send to your amp, to send to your pedals. You know, that's where all the magic happens as far as, again, adding dirt, adding all the effects. But it starts with a good foundation of the original guitar tone.
Yeah, and if you don't want to build your own guitar, I totally recommend the Jazzmaster Classic Player Series. It's essentially a Fender made in Mexico. You can find them, I believe new, they're about like $825. And then a used one, you can pick them up anywhere from like about like high $5s to low $6s.
Yeah.
So about $500 to $600, and you can get something. It won't be exactly like this, but you can get within the ballpark of it.
Yeah.
And also the Fender Player Series, not the Player Series, the classic 60s Baja Telly.
Okay.
My dad has one of those, and it has like Fender custom shop pickups in it, and it has like all the good radius on the neck and everything. And I mean, you don't have to spend like $5,000. You can get a pretty solid electric guitar that's not going to give you problems for about like $600.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, let's move to the next phase of signal flow. Well, technically it goes to pedals first, but as far as like the next phase of like what establishes a great foundation for your guitar rig, be the amplifier.
Yeah.
So I see you get the Vox. What's that model?
I have the AC30 CC2,
Okay.
and the reason I went with this one is the newer ones, they have like about 4 inputs. It's a solid amp, but I went with this one because in the used market, they don't make it anymore, obviously, but on the used market, you can find it for about $500 to $600, and it's got a tube rectifier. It's all tube circuitry.
In tubes, explain again the benefits of tubes.
Tubes, you get that good, rich, pushed, clean sound out of it. It's kind of hard to like explain the sound quality that happens, but like when playing it, the feel of it it's a totally different. It's very organic. It's a different creature. I mean, the thing about it almost has these like imperfections that make it perfect, per se. Because like if you have like 100% clean, everything's 100% digital and perfect, sometimes you don't get those like minor imperfections and grit that kind of give you that like harmonically rich content.
Yep.
So I went with this one because it doesn't have a solid state rectifier, but a tube rectifier in it. Some of the complaints that people have is that the speakers aren't that good, but you can swap the speakers out for like about $100 for both of them. I swapped out one of them, and the sound is insane because we only mic one speaker at a time, so essentially only need to change one.
Yeah.
It's got the Baltic birch cab on it. Some of the newer ones use this like MDF. It's like this like fiberboard essentially.
Yeah.
So it's got all the like good classic elements. You can tweak whatever you want on it. It comes with reverb and trim on it. So even if you don't have a reverb pedal and it's like your first like tube amp, the reverb that's built into it is actually pretty good. So I mean, you can essentially use that reverb and then like an overdrive and a delay pedal, and you can be good to go from there. So
nice.
I really dig it. The only complaint that I would have is that it's really heavy. So if you're moving it around a lot, another variant would be like a Blues Junior. It's a solid amp for 15 watts. It's got good reverb on it. I recommend getting the one with the upgraded speaker. I have the one with the Jensen in it, and so like the Tweed version will have that speaker.
Yeah.
So that's another good amp that you can find on the used market for like, give or take like $400.
Nice.
Or an AC15 is pretty classic, comes with a good speaker, ready to rock. So
Nice.
very good worship mid-focus tone. I mean, most of the time that you hear a worship guitar, it's with some sort of variant of a Vox AC30 circuit. So like a Matchless or like a Bad Cat, they're all mid-focus.
Explain a little bit more about the tone that we're going for with an amp.
With an amp, usually what you want to do, because in worship music, having a ton of pedals at your disposal is totally necessary because of the dynamics that are playing into the songs. A lot of the songs aren't going to be like 100% overdrive the whole entire time. So the thing is, like, what you want to do is be able to build up and down with the dynamic and flow up the song, and to do that, having pedals is kind of a necessary thing.
Yeah.
And what you want out of your amp is to kind of get a pushed clean sound out of it, and then build everything on top of it. You don't want it to be super duper clean, because you put an overdrive pedal in front of it, and then it turns into your character of your overdrive is basically dictated by your pedal alone rather than your amp. So if you have your amp running a little bit hotter, then the overdrive pedal just kind of pushes that rather than coloring it 100% with just the overdrive pedal.
Yep.
So you're still able to shine through when you set your gain a little bit higher.
Yep.
So the way that I run my amp, I usually I'm running it on the top boost circuit, so it has 2 channels, a normal and a top boost. So I run the top boost, and I run the volume just a little under noon, and then kind of like a V kind of tone profile for the treble and bass back, treble forward. The tone cut's a little rolled off, and the volume, depending on where I'm at. I mean, we run in an ISO booth, so I can run it pretty loud and whatnot, but usually I'll run like a pushed clean sound, like so. See, if I pick it like this, fairly clean, but if I want to like drive it, like, so it has just a little bit of dirt on the top of it.
Yep. I love that.
So you get a little bit of dirt, and then you can basically use it as a foundation to put your overdrive pedals in front of.
Yep.
So.
And yeah, you mentioned something too, the ISO booth. For folks who have not heard about ISO box, ISO booth for the amps, what does that do?
So basically what we do is on the stage, behind the stage we have like an amp room, essentially. So we drill a hole in the wall and then run long cables. There's multiple ways to do it. Right now we're kind of doing it like the most easy, cost-efficient way. We're just running like a 30-foot lava cable to the back of the stage, because basically our ISO booths are right behind me.
Okay.
Like just on the other side of this wall is the ISO booth rack. Yeah. So we use like really, really strong, like thick MDF cabinets, and then we put like noise dampening isolation in there, and then just run a hole through the back of it so you can get your power, and like run cables in there and mic cables. So basically it's in a booth with a mic put right up against the speaker cone, or however you want to run it, off axis, whatever. Yeah. And then the mic runs to the front of the house. So the amp is not on stage, it's not blaring in the back room, it's like contained in a box. Yep. And then we just have a door that we latch onto the front of it, and then we can run 2 amps back there, and then if you make more ISO booths, you can do however many.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it really just helps reduce stage volume, because like you said, if you need to run your amp hot to get a certain tone quality, if you put it on stage, especially in a church, we all know how hard it is with churches to manage sound levels. And
this thing is not quiet. I'm running it quieter right now, but usually the given Sunday, like if I ran it out here, people would just walk out. Yeah, because it would just be too much in your face insanity.
So I think it's important, if you have an analog setup with an actual amp you're using, and you're not just going into a Helix, into your sound system. If you have lots of sound you're producing, use an ISO box. So it's gonna.
And we made it too. So it's not like thousands of dollars. I mean, you can essentially make it as just a box with sound paneling on the inside, and then a hole in the back. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Great.
So.
Well, I think that gives us a great idea of what we're looking for in an amp. Now let's move to the good old pedal board that we have right here.
Awesome. Yeah, and this board right here was fairly cheap. I obviously made the wood that it's sitting on just by stuff laying around. I mean, a pedal board itself isn't too expensive, but if you're trying to ball on a budget, this is way easier. So the first thing on the pedal board isn't able to be seen, but I have a Voodoo Power 2 Plus on the bottom, and that's kind of powering everything in here.
And I'll throw some B-roll of that right there, right here as we talk about it. Yeah. But power supply, why is that important?
Yeah, power supply, you want to have isolated power going to your pedals. You can do a daisy chain if you have a couple pedals, but the thing is you want to have clean power to each pedal so you don't get any noise interference, because that can kind of happen when you daisy chain pedals. It gets a little noisy. So this kind of keeps the noise down and ensures that I have enough power to each and every one of these pedals, because like things like the delay or like certain reverbs will take up a lot of power, and like you typically don't want to daisy chain them, because if they don't get enough power, then they're not going to produce fully what they're able to do. You know? So Usually your overdrives only take a couple milliamps, and these guys will take like 100, 200 plus. So yeah.
Great. And then I think if you could walk us through the different kind of like, I guess if you could just walk us through the signal flow of the pedals and explain, here's what this is, approximately how much it costs, if you can think of it, and then
I got that all.
Why you get it for worship.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously the most important pedal, everybody says this, but it's true, your tuner, because you get to mute and unplug your guitar first off and not run into that big crazy pop sound that people hear and want to run from. So you got your Polytune 2 Mini, just a solid tuner, really easy to use. You can pick them up for about like $50 or so. So it's a solid tuner, doesn't have any problems. It doesn't take up too much space on my pedal board, and you know, there's not much more that you can say about it. And then all the cables that I'm running, I have a couple Mugami cables in here that I had laying around, but most of them are these little reverb cables, these like orange ones. They're like $9 for 3 of them, and they work fantastic.
Yeah, from Reverb.com.
Reverb.com. You literally go there and put pancake solder cables or just patch cables, and they'll pop up. First thing, $9, free shipping or something.
And Reverb.com, if you haven't been there, they have a bunch of used gear. It's almost like the kind of the eBay for musicians.
Yeah, I got a lot of the parts for this from Reverb, and the amp got it from a guy in Church in Texas. Got it for $500. So
nice.
Yeah. Next on the list, compressor, the SP compressor. It's solid, it's easy to use. It's got a bunch of eternal dip switches, so I set it to medium compression, single coil. There's like, and you can do whatever you want. You can use it for humbuckers or whatever. So you got your sustain right here. So it's a 3-way switch, mid, low, high. I run it on low. I don't need a whole lot of extra sustain. And when you run it higher or on the mid setting, you run into a little bit more operation noise. So when I run it on low, I get less noise from it. So I just kind of want to keep my noise down, but still have compression. So I run it on low. It works as a boost too. So I just blend in probably about like, that's usually about a little less than half. Okay. And the volume up about there.
Can you give us kind of a before and after with the compressor?
Yeah. So with compressor will be. So before, or that's with, and this is after. So like. So basically what it does, it's more of a feel thing, and then when it kind of helps with the dynamics. So basically, when you're playing lighter or doing finger picking stuff without it, very quiet. Pop it on. So basically it brings all of your sound and squishes it into like a certain category. I mean, if you put it like, if you crank the blend knob, it gets like really like country chicken picking, like quacky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just run enough of it so it kind of helps with the sound team, with the dynamics of it, because sometimes I'll be playing a part of a song and I'm like wailing on this guitar and it's like super loud, and other parts I'm gonna be finger picking, and they're basically having to do like running through loops and trying to like figure out the gains and the faders and everything. So what this does is it helps my sound guy, and it helps the sound be more consistent. So it kind of squishes it and boosts it at the same time. So you don't hear the difference necessarily more than you feel it, and how it works with the dynamics of songs. I think it was a game changer, because I never used one before, and then I used it and I was kind of like, I can hear the guitar all the time. It's not just like invisible or totally in your face. So it brings it into the forefront and kind of keeps it at a good level.
Awesome.
So yeah, you can find them for about like $90. I'm not sure if I got this one new. I think I did for like 120 or something like that. But yeah, totally awesome pedal. And then I run it, so the thought line of all this is pretty much you want to do compression, boost, drives, modulation, delay, and then reverb at the end typically. So that's kind of the reasoning behind this. You can look it up. There's people who do tons of different variations, but this is pretty much like the classic, like how you'd want to run your signal. Next pedal on the list is the Spark Boost. It's literally one knob, and it literally does exactly what it says. It's a boost. It just makes it louder. So I run it just a little bit because it kind of fattens it up, the guitar signal as it goes into the amp. So it just gives it a little more oomph as it hits the front end of the amp. I mean, some people use it like, it can be anywhere from like, so see, this is without it. So see, it's very, very slight, but it kind of just drives the signal, gives it a little more bottom end. $50 new. Very straightforward, and then obviously if you crank it, it goes into overdrive territory, and it gets really, really nasty if you want it to. So cool pedal, $50. Not much to explain about it. It does what it does. And then so that I have boost first, and then my overdrives is kind of how I run it. And then my next pedal is going to be the Fulltone OCT V2. So the difference with this is the new one that they just came out with. It has a buffer in it, and for most people, to explain a buffer, most pedals are going to be true bypass. Essentially, this one has a buffer. Some of the Boss pedals have like a slight buffer on them, and then everything else is true bypass, so it doesn't affect your signal as it passes through. Essentially, is what true bypass does. But as running with long cable runs, so you have like a 18 to I don't know, however many foot cable that you want to run into your board, and then from the end of the board to like the amp, that's like, I don't know, like 75 feet worth of cable, including like the patch cables. So you lose a little bit of the impedance from your guitar going into your amp. So sometimes it sounds really lacking dynamics, or it sounds like really like tinny, but in like a bad way, or it sounds like it doesn't have any like high-end, medium-high dynamics. It's because it loses a lot of the signal as it has to travel along the cable. What a buffer does is that it boosts that signal, so you don't lose the dynamics within it. So I got this one mainly for the buffer. So it's nice to have a buffer and an overdrive in one, so I don't have to power two different pedals, because I only have this many spots on my power supply. So I'm like, if I can get two done in one, that's pretty cool. Sometimes the tuner will have a buffer, or you'll have a buffer at the end, but I have a buffer right here. So the OCD is kind of just like a kind of a more nasty overdrive. So I got a chord like this, or like a power chord like. Oh yeah, the OCD is more of like the scarier of the overdrives than the other one. So it's got more gain. It doesn't really clean up necessarily, but it's for like hard driving sections. So if you want to do like chords like so you get a lot of like gain out of it. I mean, you can do like lead lines and stuff like that if you like throw whatever. So if you want to do lines like that, you get more of that kind of overdrive, because if you do like that clean sounds like
way better with
weird
that.
Weird sounding, you know. I pick the first note and I automatically don't even want to play it. So but yeah, with that, so basically it's good to run that push clean into something like that, because you get a lot of more of the dynamics out of it, and you don't have to. So see, I run my drive really low, because I'm running a push clean sound. You put too much drive, it turns fuzzy and mushy, and it's not really clear or punchy. So the push clean, again, you don't have to run the drive too hot. So I got that guy, and then I got my Cinders Overdrive. Oh, this guy was like, these are about like $100. Yeah, give or take. You can find them used for about like 80 or so. So yeah, all my pedals are not too expensive. And then this was on a deal at Guitar Center, and it was like $35 new. And I didn't really have any pedals at the time, so I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll get a $35 like overdrive pedal. And I love it. And it's totally like not what you normally find on a pedal board. It's like, oh yeah, $35, like throw it away, you know? But it sounds, I really like it. I use it very, very light drive, more of a boost. It gets really, really, has a lot of treble on it, so you have to dial back the tone and make sure that you don't keep a whole lot of it, because it's pretty, it gets pretty crazy if you want it to, but it really works as like just like a good, it's just like a push. So I got So I got something like. So it really cleans up really well if you want it to, because you can do like. But then if you want to like drive, you got like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can really drive it if you want to. So it's a great like rhythm kind of overdrive if you want to kind of just like drive a part of a like a chorus or a bridge or something like that. It really works really well, and it works with so like delays and stuff like that. I can put like more. Turn that guy on so you can get like a. So it's not too much overdrive, so you can kind of throw all that craziness on top of it, and it doesn't muddy it up too much. So it's just enough. You know what I mean? It's like I literally use this I use this very sparingly, like on lead lines, like Lion and the Lamb, or like, I don't know, something that requires a lot more gain. That's what I use that for. But 90% of the time out of the two of these, I'm using this guy.
Yep.
I mean, you can stack them both together if you want like insane amounts of overdrive, but I typically never need to do that. Yeah. I mean, some people can stack them. They'll use like a less than that, but I'm singing all the time, so I just want like, I want this one or I want that one. So it works for me in that way. So yeah, $35. I think new they go for about like 50. And they go on sale at Guitar Center sometimes, so I got it for $35.
Nice.
So, killer pedal for the money. True bypass, super simple. Next on the line, I have the Chorus Ensemble, and I got that for a really good deal. I got that for $30 also. It was used at Guitar Center. It was like in the box and stuff. New, I think they go for about like $100. But if you check Craigslist and stuff like that, the resale value on them isn't that great. So people are selling them all the time for like, I don't know, like $40-50. The thing about it is Boss has been making this pedal for like, I don't know, like 20 years. Yeah. So there's like a billion of them out there. So you can resell them for like pretty cheap. Yeah. So this kind of just gives me that like, just slight modulation. So it really gives you that like modulated, chorusy underwater effect. I use it very sparingly. It's not like a necessity for anybody's board, but it's kind of cool just to have it. Like if you want to like change it up or kind of make something stand out or sound a little bit different than like a recording or something like that. Yeah. It works really well. I'm trying to think, like Lion and the Lamb, you can throw that on. It sounds pretty cool. It's very 80s sounding, but yeah, it's cool. I use it very sparingly, but it's there. Yep. And then next is the Boss DD20, and I love this. It's very easy because typically on a Sunday we'll have like 5 songs in a set. So I have my manual bank, and then I got 4 banks on it, and you can set everything to your click track. So you have your tempo right here. So I got 84 on bank 1, or that's the manual bank. Bank 1 will be like 126, 74, 135, 145. So you can set the time and between these 12 different delays, and then your feedback, effect level, stuff like that. You can do dotted eighth, quarter notes, whatever you want to do. And it's really, really super easy to use, especially when you're singing, because you got on and off, and then you get tap that after every song. Yep. So nice. I don't have to sit there and tap dance to like tap my tempo in. Yep. So like I could do my first song, I'm good. If I want it off, on and off, and then I just do that after every song. Yep. That's it. I don't have to mess around with it. Super easy to write and program. So you just select them here, write them in, dial in the time, and that's it.
Let's hear some of those delays.
Yeah. So I'll just go like through my bank. So I have like, so this is like the 84. So see, like I'll have like a longer trail on something like. And then see, like this will be like really. So this is like a dual delay. So you'd be like. Very like. It's like that dotted eighth, like you know, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Super easy to use. Really, there's no like diving through a ton of menus. I can see exactly where I'm at any given time, and I got it for $100 used.
Nice.
So I mean, $100 for a delay that I can, and it runs stereo too. So if I want to ever run a stereo rig, I can throw another amp in the mix and have it ping pong between the both of them.
Nice.
So they're kind of old, but the thing is, it's just a solid pedal. So if you want to get like a good delay, not spend too much money, and be able to not have to tap all your tempos in after every song for $100, I mean, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, another variant, Elijah, he's got the Nova delay, which is pretty cool. I like that one too. It's just harder to like tap through the banks. I mean, I just want to like not even look at it and tap it, because I don't necessarily want to look down if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So it's just super simple. $100, really easy delay. They also make another one called the DD7. So if you don't want to have like all this other stuff on it and going for compact, that one works well too. There's a ton of them out there, but that's just another one that I've used. And then after this, I have the Matthew Effects Astronomer. These ones go for about like 180 to 200. It's kind of more boutique-y kind of vibe with it.
For reverb, right?
Yeah, for reverb. It's a mono reverb, so it's got two different reverb settings. It's got setting, so this basically turns it on and off, and you got setting 2 right there. So this one would be like the top row. So you got mixed glow travel. So turn off my delay. So I'll show you dry. So I just have a little bit of reverb on the amp if you hear that. So that's just amp reverb. And then this will be like setting 1 will be. So it's not too crazy. I just kind of have the mix and travel at noon. I mess with it all the time because it just sounds good on pretty much like a lot of settings.
Yeah.
So you got that, and then the cool thing about it is that you can have like essentially 2 different reverbs in it. So this one will work the top row right here, and then the bottom row is just basically the exact same thing as the top, but it's just setting 2. So you can set 2 different reverbs. So the bottom one's like totally drenched out, like synth patty, ethereal, shimmer verb. So,
wow,
it's just got more of that
it's
on
like
there.
it almost sounds like a synth, like a synth pad or something.
So I jack the glow up on it. So that's basically the synth kind of traveling sound.
Yeah.
So if I'm leading a song, I can do the travel up more too. And I don't have the keyboard player, and I want some kind of like pad-like sound. I'll have my reverb on that crazy setting, and then onto the delay, and then I can just like hit a chord. It just hangs there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you turn on drive or anything like that, it'll just drive it even more. So yeah, it kind of just, it's cool, because if you're up there, say like there's like, usually we'll have like an altar call towards the end of service, and it'll just be me up there. So I'll put on just a little bit of that. I might not go that heavy, but it's cool if you just like want to do some like back filler and just have a little bit of like. So, if you don't have a synth player, you can kind of just do that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my other synth player.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
What about the Altoids?
The Altoids, I never understood why people had it before, and then I was like, wait, you can put picks in it,
There you
or a capo. So
nice.
picks, capo, different kind of picks, Velcro on the back, so it's impossible to take off.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you have like a newer one, it gives it the picks kind of like this like matte texture, so it gives you a little more grip because it's got the leftover Altoid dust on it, I guess.
Yeah. So for folks, that pretty much covers it, right?
That's pretty much everything on the board. Fairly cheap. I mean, when you break it down, you got like what, 50, 80, 50, 100, 30, 100, maybe like 200. I mean, it's like about like $500 or so for a board like this. So, I mean, including the power supply, maybe about $6.
Yeah.
So it's
it's a sub $1,000 pedal board setup, but you have really, like, especially for all the sounds that we're hearing in worship today, it's like you pretty much can produce all those from here.
I mean, you have like all the essentials. I mean, a lot of times they use like, a lot of the guys use like pogs. I mean, you don't need the chorus, you can do a pog instead, and that's a couple bucks more, but not breaking the bank. So
yeah. What would you just, if someone's like just starting building a guitar rig, what should they start with? For let's assume they have a guitar and the amp, but for pedals.
Oh, for pedals, and they have a tuner, I'm gonna assume that.
Yep.
I would go for a solid overdrive pedal and a solid reverb pedal. A lot of people are kind of like, maybe delay first or maybe reverb. I feel like with reverb, if you have a good one, you can kind of play a little bit more if you don't have a delay. I mean, the delay allows you to play a little bit less.
Yeah.
So it just depends if you're doing lead or rhythm. I think the thing is with the rhythm, it's easier to get away with like a reverb and kind of give a little more space than a delay. But I'd be like overdrive, delay, reverb, or reverb, delay.
Yep.
So essentially, you can get a good reverb, like a RV6 or a RV5, give or take about like $75 to $90 for something like that. It just has one setting on it. But if you have an amp with reverb, you can essentially run your reverb 1 through that, and then ambient, shimmer verb through the RV6.
Yep.
So you can basically, those 3 pedals are the top. Just a solid overdrive. You don't need anything crazy. That and that. I mean, everything else just kind of helps tailor it all together and bring it in. But yeah, a solid overdrive is probably the first one that I would go with.
Great.
And then reverb.
Well, Alex, that was a very in-depth walkthrough of everything that you have here, and I mean, I learned a ton because again, I'm a guitar player and I've played electric, and I feel like when I was first getting into guitar playing, I was like super geeked out about pedals and building out a board. But more recent years, I've just been playing my acoustic most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm a lazy worship leader when it comes to playing electric, but this is just super helpful though, because it almost inspires me. It's like, man, maybe I should get my electric out, kind of make some tweaks to my board. I actually have some of those pedals already, but it's like just getting it all, into one cohesive piece again would be awesome. And I think what we'll do is let's go ahead and I'm going to create a document, and you can help me out with this, that has all of the links and all of the model numbers and names for the setup that you saw here today. And this isn't the only way to do it, but I feel like Alex taught us enough about the why behind each of these pedals that as you go shopping and researching your setup, you'll at least be more informed on what's going to work really well in a worship leading context. So Alex, if folks want to reach out to you for any questions or advice on their electric guitar setup for worship, where's the best place for them to reach you?
The best place would probably be my work email. So alex@milehighcalvary.com. That'll probably be the best one. I think I'm always on it, so
sweet.
I'm always able to respond.
Well, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you and just sharing your knowledge with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please hit that thumbs up button and share it with your other friends in worship ministry. Don't forget to subscribe to the Churchfront channel so you can continue to receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church.